The light over Kruger National Park doesn't rise so much as it creeps cautiously, like a hunter itself. In the first faint shimmer before sunrise, the savannah is wrapped in cold mist, veiling the land in a silence so complete it feels holy or haunted. The grass is heavy with dew and secrets, and beneath the fragile stillness lies a truth too raw for most postcards. Nothing here is still because it is safe. Everything is still because it is waiting. The trail begins at a smear of blood barely noticeable against the ochre soil, a whisper of violence that bled into the dust overnight. Beside it, paw prints press into the earth like scars. Lion, heavy and confident. Hyena, scrappy and erratic. Impala, frantic and bounding. A map of fear and pursuit, of close calls and closer deaths, written in the language of footprints. You don't read it, you feel it. A deep old instinct kicks in, your pulse matching the rhythm of prey that knew it was being watched. As the sky bruises into orange and purple, vultures stir like shadows against the light. They haven't seen the kill yet, but they smell it. So do the jackals, trotting with a purpose that suggests they've already memorized the path to rot. Even now, before a single roar has cracked the morning open, the predators are already circling. And the prey? It's already running. That's the thing about Kruger. The hunt never begins here, because it never stops. What you're witnessing is a moment in the middle of a marathon of death. To the casual eye, the savannah may look empty. A couple of grazing impalas, a lone zebra flicking its tail. But look closer and the illusion unravels. The impalas freeze, not chewing, not breathing, just listening. Somewhere, something cracked a twig. They don't know if it's wind or death, so they stare into the thicket, statues sculpted by anxiety. This moment may last 10 seconds, or 10 hours. Because in Kruger, the first to relax is usually the first to bleed. A rustle in the bushes, it could be a breeze, it could be a cheetah. Welcome to the game. Here, the grass isn't just grass, it's cover. It's a blade sharpened by the hunter's patience. Predators lie flat for hours, faces nearly swallowed by the earth, waiting for a single misstep. Lions, despite their regal swagger, are master illusionists. What looks like a lazy sprawl beneath the acacia shade is actually a blueprint for an ambush. They don't chase. They wait for panic to hand-deliver lunch. And yet the most fascinating truth of this land is its refusal to follow rules. Just when you think you understand the food chain, lion kills zebra, hyena steals kill, vulture finishes, Kruger throws you a paradox. A pride of lions gets run off by a single enraged elephant bull who wasn't even hungry, just annoyed. A pack of wild dogs takes down a kudu in 6 minutes flat, only to be driven away by a swarm of biting ants too small to film. The strongest don't always win here. The smartest don't always survive. Sometimes it's just the quietest that slip away unseen. Further down the trail, the air thickens. It's warmer now, and the wind brings a coppery tang, the unmistakable perfume of blood left out in the sun. Around a bend beneath a mopani tree lies what's left of a nyala. It's been picked clean, but not efficiently. The bite marks are chaotic, not surgical, likely a solo hyena, desperate or greedy. Nearby, fresh drag marks lead into a bush, suggesting a leopard interrupted the feast. You'll never see the leopard, of course, but it's watching you, right now. It's always the ones you don't hear that are closest. Even the insects seem sharper here. Carrion beetles carve through flesh with a precision that would impress a surgeon. Flies, despite being pests, are nature's fastest cleanup crew. In some cases, they'll find the body before the buzzards do. In others, they're the ones who caused the death, spreading bacteria, weakening the prey long before claws arrived. You came here looking for lions and leopards. You found a battlefield where even the flies are part of the war machine. And then there's the grass itself. Charred black in places, fresh green in others. Fire swept through here a few weeks ago. Not man-made, just nature pressing reset. Flames flushed the animals out, burned the cover, and gave scavengers a buffet of burned meat. But fire is also a fertilizer. Already new shoots are sprouting. This place doesn't mourn its dead. It eats them, recycles them, and grows sharper from the loss. Kruger doesn't cry. It rebuilds, with teeth. You begin to notice how much death smells like life here. How fear is woven into the soundtrack of every sunrise. How a place can be breathtakingly beautiful and utterly merciless in the same breath. The wildebeest calf that outran the jackal an hour ago. It might get caught tonight by something bigger. The impala that leapt to safety this morning. It might break its leg in a gully by dusk. Nothing is guaranteed, not even for the killers. Especially not for the killers. Because just over that ridge, lions are getting older, cubs are growing impatient, dominance is slipping. And when power slips in Kruger, it doesn't retire quietly. It gets eaten alive. This is where the hunt begins. Not with the first pounce or the first scream, but with the knowledge that every single creature here is being watched, tracked, weighed and judged for its vulnerability. The game is already underway. You just stepped into the middle of it. And the red trail? It doesn't end. It only loops back into itself, like blood cycling through a living body. Because this is not a snapshot. This is a system, a perpetual motion machine made of claws, hunger, and the mathematical precision of survival. Every blade of grass hides a secret. Every footprint tells a story. And every silence is a setup. Somewhere ahead, something is about to die. But not how you expect. Next, we follow the ghost in the leaves. The killer that makes no sound. The predator who prefers to haunt rather than chase. The leopard is near. But is it hunting? Or already full? As the golden light of dawn begins to melt across the rugged sprawl of Kruger's wilderness, it dances along the high branches of marula trees and flickers across the jagged shadows below. But here, beneath the dense canopy and twisted bush willow, the morning doesn't feel new. It feels haunted. There's a stillness in this place that doesn't settle. It stalks. The birds chirp half-heartedly, unsure whether to announce the day or retreat back into silence. Something is watching them. Something that prefers the veil to the spotlight. There are no roars to alert you, no earth-shaking stampedes, no thunderous chase tearing up the soil. Just an absence of motion, an absence of warning. And then, if you're lucky or unlucky enough to witness it, a flicker of spotted gold, a blur between the leaves, and a snap of bone that breaks the hush like a dropped glass in a cathedral. That is how the leopard introduces itself, not with ceremony, but with certainty. To call a leopard stealthy is like calling a scalpel sharp. It's technically accurate, but it doesn't come close to describing the art involved. This is not just a predator. It is a whisper stitched into the fabric of the forest. In a land crowded with brash killers and brutal ambush artists, the leopard takes a different path, threading itself between visibility and legend. While lions strut and hyenas cackle and wild dogs barrel through the bush like rowdy assassins, the leopard waits, alone, patient, invisible. Not because it's shy, but because it can. Beneath the branches of a low-knuckled fig tree, a female leopard crouches like a shadow sculpted by leaves. Her coat is a masterpiece of evolutionary misdirection, spots shaped not by chance but by millions of years of trial and error. In this light, in this shade, she's not an animal at all. She's part of the scenery. The impala grazing 30 feet away might glance up, even stare right at her, and still not register the danger. Because leopards don't attack from a distance. They erase it. When she strikes, it's not dramatic. It's decisive. A single lunge, a clean bite to the windpipe, and then silence again. Not a scream, not a chase, just gravity doing the rest. She drags the body away, back into the bush, careful not to disturb even the birds above. She'll eat in private, hoisting her prize high into a tree before the hyenas sniff it out. Because unlike lions who kill in teams and share the spoils, or hyenas who steal and swarm, leopards don't rely on noise. They rely on not being noticed. What's even more astonishing is how often this happens without anyone knowing. In Kruger, there are more leopards than you'd ever guess, and far fewer sightings than you'd ever expect. That's because they don't just hide from prey. They hide from everyone, even from other leopards. This is not a social species. Each one patrols its own private kingdom, invisible to the untrained eye, silent to the untrained ear. Their territories overlap like invisible ink maps, drawn in scent marks, claw scratches, and unseen gazes from the treetops. And those treetops? They're not just lookout towers. They're dining tables, maternity wards, and escape routes. A full-grown male leopard can carry more than twice his body weight straight up a tree, often dragging a freshly killed antelope several meters above ground to avoid scavengers. This vertical strength isn't just impressive, it's life-saving. Hyenas are fast, lions are aggressive, but neither of them climb well. Up there in the fork of a tall leadwood, a leopard is king of a kingdom no one else can reach. But even kings make mistakes. One curious camera trap captured a rare moment, a young male leopard attempting to stash his impala kill in a tree, only to be ambushed by another larger male he didn't know was watching. The fight lasted seconds. Blood sprayed down the bark like rainfall. The loser fled, limping. The winner didn't gloat. He simply finished the climb, repositioned the carcass, and settled into a nap. Belly full, crown reclaimed. Leopards don't just fight when they have to. They vanish when they must. During fires, they disappear underground or into rocky crevices, resurfacing days later unscathed. When floods roll in, they leap across gaps like dancers, skimming tree to tree, and during droughts, they switch diets. If there are no impalas, they'll hunt monkeys. If there are no monkeys, they'll steal birds from nests. One was even observed breaking into a burrow to eat porcupines, carefully. Survival here isn't just about muscle, it's about adaptability. And no predator in Kruger wears flexibility with more elegance than the leopard. And yet, for all its grace, its strength, and its intelligence, the leopard still faces enemies it cannot outwit. Humans, traps, snares, expanding roads. When a leopard gets too close to a village, it often disappears. Not into the trees, but into history. And still somehow they endure, watching, waiting, shifting their habits, moving the hunt into the hours just before dusk or just after midnight, when human eyes are weakest and the jungle goes soft with sleep. Sometimes tourists passing through Kruger will claim the park felt quiet that day, like nothing was happening, just birds, trees, and wind. But that's the trick. Leopards don't want to be seen. They want to be guessed. When the park feels empty, that's when you should worry. Because someone is watching. Not from a distance, not from above, but from right behind the nearest tree, 5 feet away, so still you never noticed. And sometimes, just sometimes, you'll look back at your camera footage and see 2 glowing eyes, there for a second in the frame, gone the next. No sound, no motion, just proof that you were never alone. Because in Kruger there is always something watching, and the most dangerous predator is the one you didn't know was there. Next, we descend into chaos, not stealthy and silent, but loud, fast, and unstoppable. When the wild dogs come, the bush explodes, and nothing outruns the pack. The sun rises a little quicker on days like this, as if even the light senses the urgency beneath the trees. In the open woodlands of Kruger, the grass is trembling, not from the wind, but from a rhythm that begins before the eye can follow. It starts with rustles, shifting whispers beneath the bush willows, then a flick of an ear, then another, and then all at once the pack emerges, as if conjured by the land itself. They come low and lean, a blur of limbs and mottled coats painted in chaotic patches of black, gold, and white. African wild dogs, or more formally, Lycaon pictus, move not like wolves or coyotes, but like shadows fused with electricity. Each member plays a part in a symphony of motion, perfectly timed and deliberately orchestrated, though to an outsider it feels like watching a riot sprint. There's nothing stealthy about them. They don't stalk, they surge. And their hunt doesn't wait for silence. It starts with noise, chirps, yips, high-pitched trills more suited to a playground than a battlefield. These are not barks or growls, they are strategy. Vocal GPS signals between teammates, shifting roles mid-sprint, left flank pushes, right flank cuts. The alpha pair leads, but every member adapts. There is no fixed position in this army, only speed, instinct, and an unnervingly precise understanding of terrain. Their target today, a young impala, healthy but just curious enough to make a mistake. The kind of mistake prey rarely makes twice, if it gets the chance. The chase doesn't start with a charge, but with a ripple. One dog nudges the herd, then peels off. Another cuts across, funneling the group toward a thicker brush. And then it breaks loose. The chaos, the real kind, the kind that has teeth. What unfolds over the next 5 minutes is not just a hunt. It's a spectacle of nature's most efficient carnivores putting on a masterclass in team assassination. They don't aim to kill in a single blow. They aim to exhaust, to confuse, to dismantle. They don't bite for the throat. They bite for the legs, the flanks, the underbelly. They bleed you into the earth. It is death by precision, not poetry. and it is over faster than a human heartbeat can comprehend. A BBC crew once timed it. From the first chase to the last bite, 5 minutes. The impala was alive one moment and in pieces the next. The cameraman, a veteran of war zones and wildebeest stampedes, turned pale and admitted later that he felt like he'd filmed a war crime. But here in Kruger, that's just breakfast. And yet, in the very next breath, these painted wolves, blood still fresh on their muzzles, become a daycare. Because wild dogs are not just killers, they are caretakers. The pack doesn't just tolerate pups, they feed them first. After a hunt, the adults will regurgitate fresh meat to the waiting mouths of their young, as well as the elderly and injured members of the pack. They are brutal, yes, but also bizarrely benevolent. A contradiction wrapped in fur and fangs. There's an unexpected elegance in their violence. Unlike lions, who often squabble over food in noisy displays of dominance, or hyenas who rip at scraps in a frenzy of snarls, wild dogs consume in eerie coordination. No fights, no drama, just a communal silence punctuated by chewing. Scientists have marveled at this. How a species so wild, so erratic in their movements, can maintain such rigid social discipline. And they need it. Because they're outnumbered. Always. A pack of 20 may sound formidable, but in the arena of Kruger, they're surrounded by bigger, meaner, louder threats. Lions despise them, not out of fear, out of rivalry. Lions will go out of their way to kill wild dogs, often ignoring easier prey just to eliminate competition. And so the dogs run, always running. Even in triumph, they know the sound of a lion's roar means abandon the feast, vanish into the thornveld, and start again. But that's what makes them resilient. Wild dogs don't rely on brute strength. They rely on the thing most predators ignore, cardio. Over long distances, they are some of the fastest, most enduring hunters on the planet, capable of sustaining 40 miles per hour across uneven terrain. While cheetahs may be sprinters, wild dogs are marathon assassins. And in a landscape shaped by ambush and ambivalence, they are the unstoppable tide. Their social structure is just as surprising. Packs are led not by brute males, but by a bonded pair, the alpha male and female whose relationship runs deeper than just mating. They coordinate hunts, resolve disputes, and ensure the entire pack survives. When one falls, the entire system shakes. Yet somehow, the bond persists. One study followed a pack after the loss of its alpha female. Within a week, her daughter had stepped into the role seamlessly. The lineage continues not through dictatorship, but through inheritance of cooperation. And if their survival tactics weren't already impressive enough, consider this. They rarely suffer from disease outbreaks. Unlike lions, which can be devastated by canine distemper, wild dogs appear unusually resilient. Partly due to their small, isolated populations, partly due to sheer genetic luck. In a way, evolution stacked the odds against them, and they rewrote the rules. But that doesn't mean they're safe. Far from it. Habitat loss, vehicle collisions, and competition with livestock have shrunk their numbers dramatically. There was a time when thousands roamed southern Africa. Today, Kruger holds one of the last strongholds, a fragile fortress in a world closing in. Conservationists have even fitted some with radio collars, not to monitor their kills, but to ensure their stories don't end quietly. And it is here, as the pack disappears once more into the brush, bellies full, pups yipping, that you realize something deeply ironic. The animal most often called chaotic is actually one of the most organized. The predator thought to be frenzied is, in truth, a tactician. Nature has a sense of humor that way. It hides its geniuses in madness. Somewhere ahead, the pack will rest beneath a sausage tree, twitching in their sleep. But not for long. Hunger has a short memory. And for them, the next hunt is already forming in the dust, a plan passed silently from glance to glance. Next, we shift into the heart of betrayal. Not chaos, but conspiracy. Where kings are dethroned, cubs are murdered, and survival is soaked in politics. The lions are coming, and they do not come in peace. The wind moves differently across the savannah when a kingdom is on the verge of collapse. It doesn't howl or whisper. It rustles, agitated, as if the dry grass itself senses the weight of coming betrayal. The sky is wide and unsympathetic, painted with streaks of heat that bend the horizon into a mirage. Beneath it, lions sleep, or pretend to. Their amber eyes flick open just enough to watch each other. Trust here is a performance, not a truth. This is not a pride, it is a palace, and every palace eventually hosts a coup. At first glance, the lion is the very symbol of power. Muscles sheathed beneath golden fur, a mane like a wildfire crown. The roar, deep, thunderous, felt in the ribs more than the ears, is not just a call. It's a declaration of control over territory, mates, resources. It echoes across the bushveld like a war drum. But what most don't realize is that this power is a lease, not a title deed. The king is not born, he is tolerated. And the moment he weakens, the land begins to stir. Far in the distance, just out of sight, a coalition approaches. Not a wandering band of rogues, but a brotherhood of assassins with shared blood and singular ambition. Lions do not often rule alone. In fact, some of Kruger's most ruthless overthrows have come not from lone challengers, but from tightly bonded male coalitions. 2, 3, even 5 males working together to seize control of a pride. They move with purpose, not desperation. Every step is rehearsed in instinct. The incumbent male lies beneath the shade of a leadwood tree, swatting flies with a tail grown lazy. Around him, lionesses doze, and cubs tumble with the oblivious joy of those not yet aware they are born into politics. But somewhere beyond that shimmering heat haze, the usurpers are closing in. They have smelled the edges of his scent marks. They have tasted the air laced with his hormones. They know he is aging. They know he has cubs, and that is why they're coming. When the confrontation arrives, it is not a graceful duel. It is teeth, claws, dust, and desperation. Lions do not fight with honor. They fight to dismantle. Jaws target the spine. Paws smash into the ribs. Muzzles tear at the groin. One fight was caught on film by a wildlife crew stationed in Kruger, a 2-against-1 clash that unfolded like a mob execution. The reigning male held out longer than expected, roaring into the wind with such force the camera shook. But numbers always win. He was driven off, bleeding and limping, his reign over in less than 20 minutes. And what follows is perhaps the darkest truth of all. Not for the males, but for the pride itself. Within days, the new coalition begins infanticide. The cubs, still unsteady on their legs, are not competition in strength, but they are competition in genetics. The lionesses snarl and lash out, but they do not win. Evolution has made a cruel bargain. Allow the deaths of your young in exchange for the strength of new protectors. It is one of nature's most chilling transactions. The survival of the species demands the sacrifice of the individual. It is biology at its most brutal. Yet, in a twist that would make Shakespeare raise an eyebrow, the lionesses often become receptive to the new males mere days after their cubs are killed. Estrus kicks in, mating begins, and the cycle restarts. It's not romance, it's ruthless mathematics. A lioness can't afford mourning in a place where hyenas patrol in packs and starvation walks on silent paws. Her next cubs must have a protector, even if he wore the blood of the last ones. But not all lion stories are so grim. Occasionally a dethroned male survives and waits. Months later he returns, thicker, darker, more experienced. Sometimes with a brother, sometimes alone, teeth still broken from the last battle. He doesn't roar when he comes back. He slinks. He ambushes, and sometimes he wins, retakes the pride. Father slays stepfather. The wheel turns again. Then there are the lionesses who fight back with cunning. One was recorded separating her cubs during a takeover, hiding them in thickets too dense for male lions to enter. She led the new coalition to a false den site, risking death with every misdirection. When the new males settled, she slowly reintroduced her cubs, as if they were newborns. And miraculously, it worked. Evolution isn't just brutal. Sometimes it rewards cleverness. Even the cubs, should they survive, grow up in a system that teaches distrust early. Males will leave their natal pride by age 3 or 4, driven out by their own fathers, often violently. Exile is not a tragedy here. It is a curriculum. Young males wander for years before forming alliances. And during that wandering, they are tested by hunger, hyenas, and the slow, humiliating realization that being a lion outside a pride is like being a king with no throne. Feared, but aimless. And yet, for all its betrayals, Kruger's Lion Society persists, not because it is kind, but because it is efficient. Every takeover, every cub death, every bloody dethroning is part of a system that favors strength, agility, and strategic cruelty. Kings without mercy, queens without choice. A dynasty built not on legacy but on force. So the next time you see a lion stretched across the savannah, mane ruffling in the breeze, eyes half closed in what looks like peace, remember what lies beneath. That is not peace. That is the eye of a storm, a brief lull between uprisings. Because in this kingdom, the crown is always slipping, and someone somewhere is sharpening their claws. Next we look up, into the sky where death dives from above, where eyes sharper than sniper scopes and talons like knives turn the heavens into a hunting ground. The raptors are watching, and they rarely miss. The air in Kruger grows thinner as the sun climbs higher, painting the land in white heat. Down below, the drama plays out in dust and fang, in clawed skirmishes and desperate lunges. But look up, and a second battlefield comes into focus, quieter, colder, and infinitely more precise. The sky in Kruger is not empty. It is a sniper's perch, and the hunters that rule it don't need to roar to strike fear. They only need to spread their wings. It begins with a shadow, no bigger than a cloud but sharper, sliding over the savannah like a warning whispered too late. The animals below barely look up. Some have learned that by the time you see what's coming from above, it's already over. That shadow belongs to a martial eagle, one of the largest and most powerful eagles on Earth. With a wingspan pushing 7 feet, talons longer than a grizzly bear's claws, and legs thick with scaled armor, it is built less like a bird and more like a flying executioner. But don't let its size fool you into expecting clumsiness. The martial eagle doesn't need speed, it needs surprise. There's a rustle in the canopy. A vervet monkey flings itself from branch to branch, unaware it's being tracked from the heavens. The eagle waits, still as stone, circling at an altitude that makes even vultures blink. And then, without warning, it folds its wings. What was once a soaring silhouette becomes a missile, a silent freefall, a dive so steep and fast the air itself splits in its wake. The monkey never hears the blow. One moment it is airborne, the next it is limp, gripped in talons that crush bone like twigs. The eagle doesn't even land. It adjusts mid-flight and soars upward again, carrying its prize as if it were weightless. A kill made mid-jump, a physics-defying feat that makes most other predators look like brawlers in a bar fight. And the martial eagle is far from alone. The skies above Kruger are a constellation of killers. Butlers, with their bold faces and acrobatic flight, scan the land below with eyes that can spot carrion from over 3 miles away. Their wings flex like sails in a silent ballet, but what they're doing is more tactical than beautiful. Butlers, like gossiping nobles, don't just hunt. They broadcast. When one finds a carcass, others come, and not just other birds. Hyenas, jackals, even lions will follow their flight path. Because in Kruger, a vulture is never just a scavenger, it is a signal. Contrary to their reputation, vultures are not lazy. They are opportunists with military-grade surveillance systems in their skulls. Their eyesight is so advanced, they can read the twitch of a dying antelope's leg from the sky. And their teamwork? Astounding. The first vulture might be a white-backed, nervous and cautious. Then comes the lappet-faced, the bulldozer of the skies, muscling in like a grumpy uncle to tear through hide and expose the feast. Yellow-billeds and hooded vultures gather like vacuum cleaners around the scraps. In under 30 minutes, a carcass can be stripped to bone. Not even a lion can achieve that kind of efficiency. These birds are the morticians of the wild. They don't kill, but they clean with unmatched precision. And yet, there's a dark twist here, because these birds are not just messengers of death. They're also its preventers. Without vultures, the savannah would rot, carcasses would fester, disease would spread. Anthrax, botulism, rabies, all waiting in the wings if the cleanup crew fails. In fact, studies have shown that regions where vulture populations have collapsed suffer massive upticks in zoonotic disease outbreaks. So while they may look grotesque, with their featherless heads and blood-stained beaks, vultures are among the most crucial cogs in the ecosystem's machinery. Kruger's air may belong to predators, but it's the scavengers who hold the keys to public health. Above the raptors and the vulture clans, even the thermals carry secrets. Steppe eagles, migrating thousands of kilometers from Eurasia, soar alongside locals like brown snakes and tawny eagles, each with their own style of strike. Some wait for bushfires. They ride the smoke like surfers, picking off rodents and insects fleeing the flames. One eagle was once filmed hunting with such timed precision. It was thought to be responding to smoke columns more efficiently than the park's fire rangers. And still, not all kills come from claws. Some are psychological. Falcons, like the amur or lanner, don't always strike their prey directly. They'll dive just close enough to trigger panic. A dove swerves. A starling miscalculates. One misstep in the air, and a broken wing means doom on the ground. It's aerial chess with feathers, played at 200 miles per hour. But the most haunting predator in this upper kingdom doesn't even flap its wings. It floats. The owl, particularly the Vero's eagle owl, is death dipped in velvet. With muffled feathers designed to fly without sound, it hunts in complete silence, navigating pitch-black forests with sonar-grade precision. While other birds shout their intentions, the owl whispers them, and the prey never hears a thing. Bats, rodents, even small monkeys vanish into the night, never knowing what touched them. Still, not everything in the sky dies easily. There are stories, rare but unforgettable, of baboons throwing rocks at descending eagles, of monitor lizards lashing upward mid-swoop, flipping the predator into retreat, of snakes, especially boomslangs, being snatched by eagles only to wrap their bodies mid-air around the bird's wing, crashing both to the ground in a spiraling duel. Even in the air, death can go both ways. And that is perhaps the most staggering part of Kruger's sky. It is not separate from the drama below. It is layered above it, stitched into the same bloody tapestry, feeding off it, reacting to it, steering it. The animals on the ground live by tooth and chase. The birds above live by strategy, patience, and angles, but both are part of the same war. One that never ends. Somewhere far off now, a shadow crosses the sun again. Another glide, another search pattern, another set of talons, just waiting for a mistake. Next, we descend to the edge of the rivers, to where the water pretends to offer relief. But beneath the surface lurk monsters with ancient eyes and ambush in their blood. Crocodiles wait, and they never miss a second chance. The river doesn't move like danger. It glistens under the sun like a ribbon of glass, warm and inviting, coiling gently between banks heavy with reeds and dust. Dragonflies flicker in lazy loops above the surface. Birds chirp from nearby trees as if narrating a lullaby. Even the air feels heavier here, humid and sweet with the scent of damp mud and slow decay. On a blistering Kruger day, it seems like mercy, a chance for life to drink, cool off, rest. But the illusion is thick as molasses, because beneath that mirror of calm floats a predator so ancient it makes lions look like rookies. In this water, death has a name etched in armor: Nile crocodile. It doesn't blink, it barely breathes. For hours, sometimes days, it hovers like driftwood, motionless, eyeless to the untrained observer. Its body, plated like medieval steel, blends into the sediment and algae, indistinguishable from a log tossed by the current. Tourists often lean out to snap photos of the river, charmed by its peace, unaware that just feet away, jaws the size of a bear trap lie cracked open, waiting. Crocodiles are the masters of anticipation. They don't chase, they calculate. Then comes the moment. A kudu calf, ears twitching, steps into the shallows. The herd mills behind it, hooves clinking against stones, noses dipping and rising. The crocodile has already measured the distance, judged the angle of approach, felt the vibration of those hooves hours before they arrived. It doesn't pounce with panic. It launches like a torpedo, fueled by coiled muscle and unholy silence. The splash is not large. The struggle is. The calf shrieks once, legs scrambling in water that suddenly turns red and alive. The herd bolts, splintering in every direction, hooves spraying droplets into the air like shattered glass. But it's too late for the calf. It's already beneath the surface, clutched in jaws strong enough to shatter bone and hold tight through death rolls so violent they twist limbs from sockets. The water churns for a moment longer, and then stillness returns, as if nothing happened, as if the river never opened its mouth. There's a cruel genius to the crocodile's world. While most predators must stalk and sprint and risk exhaustion, The crocodile simply waits. A lion burns calories with every chase. A crocodile might go weeks without a meal, conserving energy like a miser hoarding coins. It's an ambush predator perfected by patience, refined by over 200 million years of trial and error. They were here when dinosaurs roamed. They haven't changed much since. Why would they? Evolution doesn't bother fixing what already dominates. But perhaps the most haunting detail isn't the strike, it's what happens after. In Kruger, a wildlife team once recorded a full-grown buffalo being dragged into a waterhole, not by a coordinated pride or a pack, but by a single crocodile. The buffalo bellowed, kicking up mud, its horns gouging the riverbank, eyes rolling in terror. The herd watched. They watched. No rescue attempt. No charge. Just wide eyes and frozen bodies, the reality of crocodile physics overriding instinct. The moment the buffalo's lungs filled with water, the silence returned. The herd left, slowly. They had to. A river claimed one of their own, and there is no reclaiming what vanishes into the deep. Unlike leopards or hyenas, crocodiles don't rely on intelligence in the same sense, but they are cunning in a chillingly mechanical way. They memorize crossing points used by herds, return year after year to the same ambush sites. Some have been observed using tools, resting sticks on their snouts during nesting season to lure in birds looking for twigs. It's a rare, eerie example of tool use in reptiles. When that twig-snatching heron leans too close, it doesn't get a stick, it becomes one. The trap isn't always physical either. The water itself becomes a stage of deception. During dry season, as the rivers shrink into cracked scars, crocodiles dig trenches and wallow in the mud, entering a state of suspended animation. Metabolic rates drop, movement ceases, even their heartbeat slows. They simply wait for the rains to return, for new victims to arrive. When they do, the crocodiles re-emerge like reanimated fossils, flinging themselves into the swollen currents with renewed hunger. Yet despite their fearsome reputation, crocodiles also fall victim to Kruger's iron law. The moment you stop adapting, you start dying. In brutal droughts, some crocodiles have turned to cannibalism, consuming smaller rivals when fish run dry. And during violent floods, even these aquatic lords can be swept away, slammed into rocks, or marooned in evaporating pools where they slowly starve. The river feeds, but it also punishes. And then there's the paradox. Some creatures use the crocodile's threat to their advantage. Wading birds, like the African jacana, will nest close to croc-infested waters, relying on the predator's presence to keep away egg-eating mammals. It's a strange alliance, one built not on trust, but on proximity to danger. In the savannah, sometimes your best security system is the monster beneath the floorboards. But perhaps the most unsettling truth is how familiar the crocodile becomes. Spend long enough in Kruger, and you begin to recognize individuals. That old scar-faced male who patrols the Olifants River bend, the smaller female that lurks near the Shingwedzi crossing. Locals speak of them with a kind of respect usually reserved for ghost stories, because in many ways, that's what crocodiles are. Ghosts. Pale, prehistoric, patient. Their presence isn't loud, it's persistent. And so the next time you find yourself leaning over the bank, admiring the gentle curve of water through Kruger's heat-hazed landscape, remember that the river doesn't flow alone. It carries secrets, it stores them, and sometimes it feeds them. Ahead lies the realm of rage, a kingdom ruled not by patience or silence, but by unstoppable mass. Elephants approach, and when these giants lose their temper, not even lions are safe. In the early hush of a Kruger morning, before the dust has fully risen and the heat has begun to shimmer, the land feels unusually still, as if holding its breath. Somewhere in the Mopane thickets, a low rumble rolls across the dry ground, not unlike distant thunder. But there are no clouds, no storm. Only an elephant, a bull, moving through the bush with the kind of weight that bends time around him. He doesn't move quickly. He doesn't need to. The trees part for his passage. The earth responds to his footsteps. And for everything smaller than him, which is, essentially, everything, it's not the sound of arrival that matters. It's the possibility of eruption. Because while most predators in Kruger stalk with intention and most prey flee with purpose, the elephant walks in his own category. Too big to fear, too complex to predict, and when provoked, capable of violence that seems to come from another dimension of power. You might think of him as the gentle giant, the wise elder of the savannah, the slow-moving herbivore chewing quietly beneath a baobab tree. And often, that's true. But when elephants snap, they don't just react, they unleash. The bull now stands broadside to a safari vehicle, a quiet, open-sided Land Cruiser holding 6 wide-eyed tourists and 1 ranger whose knuckles have gone visibly white. The elephant isn't charging, not yet. He's staring, ears out, trunk swinging. His temples dark with oily streaks. That's not sweat. That's temporal gland secretion, a telltale signal of a hormonal surge known as musth. In this state, his testosterone levels can spike up to 60 times higher than normal, flooding his body with a cocktail of aggression, agitation, and reproductive urgency. To other bulls, it's a warning. To everything else, it's a loaded gun with feet. In musth, the elephant becomes a contradiction, a creature of incredible intelligence whose judgment becomes erratic. One moment he'll flap his ears and mock charge with a playful trumpet. The next he'll flatten a tree or a rival bull without warning. Researchers have documented bulls in musth chasing rhinos, overturning safari jeeps, even attempting to mate with boulders. Yes, actual boulders, in a haze of hormonal confusion. And yet beneath this erratic fury lies a brain larger than any other land animal's, capable of mourning, empathy, even revenge. Elephant rage is rarely random. It often simmers from grief or memory, 2 traits we usually don't assign to animals, but which elephants wear plainly. When a matriarch is killed by poachers, her herd may return to the site for days, touching her bones with their trunks, refusing to move on. One documented case involved a young male who watched his mother be shot by ivory hunters. Years later, when relocated to a new reserve, he became the center of a series of unprovoked rampages, destroying buildings, attacking vehicles, even killing rhinos. It wasn't madness. It was memory turned physical. There's a deeper paradox here. The largest land animal on Earth is also one of its most emotional. Elephants have complex family structures, pass knowledge between generations, and even hold rituals for their dead. They communicate through infrasound, low-frequency rumbles that travel miles underground, letting distant herds know where they are, what they've seen, how they feel. And yet, in all this empathy and order, sits the capacity for devastating rage. Lions know this. Though they are apex predators by most definitions, lions rarely, almost never, take on healthy adult elephants. Even prides avoid mature bulls. But young elephants, or those caught alone, that's where the equation changes. There have been cases, usually during deep droughts, where desperate lions have targeted juvenile elephants at watering holes. It's a dangerous gamble. If successful, it feeds the pride for days. If not, it can end in shattered jaws and crushed ribs. And sometimes, lions forget that elephants don't forgive. In one rare and chilling incident, a pride that had taken down a young elephant at night was tracked by rangers the next morning, only to find them scattered, panting and bleeding. The matriarch had returned with her herd and charged through the night, following scent and blood, systematically attacking the lions, flinging one through the air like a rag doll. She didn't need to do it. The calf was already gone. But she did. Because grief here is not passive. It walks. It hunts. It remembers. Even trees are not safe from an elephant in a rage. In years of drought, when frustration mounts and the nutritional quality of foliage dips, elephants have been known to vent their fury on the landscape itself. Kruger's iconic knobthorns and acacias bear the scars, trunks snapped like matchsticks, bark stripped in furious spirals. Some researchers argue that elephants reshape entire ecosystems through this behavior, engineering open grasslands where woodlands once stood. Others suggest it's not engineering, it's protest. Yet for all this, the line between fury and playfulness is thin. In one encounter, a young bull was observed mock-charging a safari truck, only to halt mid-run and trumpet gleefully as he twirled a branch like a baton. Another herd was seen delicately corralling a group of mongoose pups away from a drying waterhole, making sure they didn't get trampled by their own feet. The same trunks that can crush bones with a swipe also gently stroke newborns or pluck thorns from branches with the precision of surgical tweezers. Theirs is not just a power of force, but of intent. But intent, as in humans, can be clouded. Males in musth, herds grieving lost calves, or elephants exposed to human violence often behave in ways that blend rationality and raw instinct. They are not mindless. That's what makes them terrifying. A mind that feels and calculates, encased in several tons of muscle and bone, is not a monster. It's a titan. And when that titan tips into wrath, nothing short of distance can save you. As the sun begins to dip behind Kruger's trees, casting long shadows across the dry riverbeds, the elephants begin to retreat. Slowly, deliberately. A last trumpet echoes across the valley, not of aggression, but of presence. A reminder that while the lions roar and the crocodiles wait, it is the elephant who rewrites the rules when he chooses. The hunt does not scare him. The predators do not dictate his movement, because sometimes the prey is the punishment. And next comes the hyena, the scavenger no one respects until it starts taking control. When the night falls and the bones crack, the dirty war begins. Dusk in Kruger is a transformation, not a conclusion. The heat begins to retreat, slipping into the soil like it's been hunted all day, and the trees cast shadows that grow longer and stranger by the minute. The birds, once noisy sentinels of the sun, quiet their songs and flee to the upper branches, giving way to a different kind of orchestra, one made not of melody, but of menace. Somewhere in the dimming grasslands, a sound rises. It is not a roar, not a growl, but a cackle, jagged, rising and unmistakable. The night belongs to the hyena now, and it does not ask politely. They come in crooked lines, not like soldiers, but like raiders, teeth bared in what appears to be a grin, though it is anything but friendly. Their gait is uneven, shoulders higher than hips, giving them an awkward, almost clownish look. But there's no humor in what follows. Hyenas don't need elegance. They don't need charm. What they need is opportunity, and the night gives it to them in spades. Most people grow up believing hyenas are bottom feeders, cowardly scavengers living off the leftovers of nobler predators. But that image collapses the moment you see them work. Hyenas are not just opportunists, they are tacticians. Matriarchal clans, often numbering over 20 strong, operate with a communication system as complex as any wolf pack. They do not hunt with stealth. They hunt with pressure, overwhelming their prey with relentless pursuit, endurance, and confusion. When they find you, they don't surround you, they engulf you. In the half-light, the clan moves like smoke. Ahead of them, a wildebeest calf stumbles too far from its mother. Not enough to seem doomed, just enough to draw interest. One hyena peels off, pretending to lose focus. Another circles wide. There is no sprint, no need. Hyenas don't rush the kill. They stalk with such psychological warfare, it often looks like they're enjoying it. A nip here, a bark there, a long chase with no immediate payoff. But that's the trick. Hyenas are not just hunters. They are bullies with PhDs in behavioral manipulation. The moment finally arrives when the calf trips just once and the circle tightens. What happens next is fast and surgical. Hyenas do not go for the throat like lions. They dismember as they feed. It is brutal but not chaotic. Each bite has purpose. Their jaws, the strongest in proportion to body size among mammals, can exert over 1,000 psi of force. That's enough to crack a femur like dry firewood. Bones are not obstacles for hyenas, they're appetizers. And they eat everything. Flesh, cartilage, bone, hooves, even skin that most predators discard. In the digestive tract of a hyena, waste becomes nothing. Their stomach acid is so corrosive it can dissolve horn. That infamous laugh isn't comedy, it's coordination, a vocalization designed to alert allies, assert hierarchy, or mark a successful kill. Each pitch, each tone has meaning. The clan isn't just feeding, it's talking. But perhaps their most remarkable trait is their flexibility. If prey proves elusive, hyenas turn to theft. Lions might kill a zebra and lose it 10 minutes later to a persistent pack. Even leopards, masters of stealth, have lost kills to hyenas who sniffed out a carcass buried beneath leaves, dragged it from the underbrush, and consumed it under the stars like rude dinner guests crashing a private feast. And when the hyenas come, they don't just take. They announce, loudly, defiantly, like they were always invited. Yet this adaptability has an ironic twist. While hyenas are feared by many, they are hated by most, and misunderstood by nearly everyone. Even their biology breaks expectations. Spotted hyenas, the dominant species in Kruger, are led by females who are larger, more aggressive, and hormonally more male than the males themselves. The matriarch rules through intimidation and inheritance, passing her rank to her daughters. Male hyenas often live on the fringes of the clan, tolerated but never fully trusted. It's a society flipped upside down, one that rewards dominance with birthright, not strength alone. And yet, for all their violence, hyenas are tender in ways most predators aren't. Pups are raised communally, guarded in intricate dens dug deep into the earth. They play, they mimic, they bond. Females nurse not just their own, but sometimes others' offspring. They are fiercely social, often choosing long-term allies within the clan, sticking together for years, sometimes for life. They have been seen comforting injured packmates, sharing kills, and mourning lost pups. Beneath the blood and the bone, there is something undeniably human about them, in the best and worst ways. The night grows heavier now, stars blistering through the black sky, and the hyenas begin to drift. Not because they are full, but because another hunt calls. Theirs is a kingdom of motion. They sleep in shifts. They eat on the run. Their territory can span over 1,000 square kilometers, and they patrol it like mafia bosses, checking scent marks and challenging intruders with raised tails and curled lips. And when two rival clans meet, the result isn't a fight. It's a war, sometimes lasting hours, involving dozens of individuals, each one calculating the odds in real time. Retreat is not shameful, it's survival. Still, there are nights when it goes too far, when hunger eclipses caution and a hyena misjudges. One such night, under a bloated moon, a young male broke rank and tried to bite off more than he could chew, lunging at the kill of a lioness who had not yet cooled her temper. What followed was short and merciless, a single paw swipe, claws like scythes, and the hyena's skull cracked open like fruit. The rest of the clan stood back, watching, learning. Next time, they would not be so eager, but they would come again. Because that is the essence of the hyena, not invincibility, but persistence, not beauty, but brilliance. They are the villains of the savannah in the way that every misunderstood genius is a villain in a story told by the victors. But the truth is, in a land where everything fights to live, the hyena doesn't just survive, it thrives. By bending the rules, by breaking expectations, by laughing when others roar. And next, the whisper returns. Not a snarl, not a cackle, but a rustle in the grass, where the venom hides, where silence kills. It's time to descend into the underworld of fangs and poisons. The snakes are waiting. There is a different kind of tension in the bush after midnight. It is not the thunder of lion calls echoing through the dark, nor the distant crack of branches beneath an elephant's step. This is subtler, quieter, a pressure you don't notice until you're in it, like the sensation of being watched from somewhere very close, though nothing stirs. The trees hold their breath, the breeze dies, and the earth, once noisy with hoofbeats and howls, now hides something far more dangerous than all of it combined. For in the stillness, death coils itself in silence, small, cold-blooded, and perfectly camouflaged. You won't hear it coming, but it's already there. A single step into the wrong patch of grass, and everything changes. The leaf that looked dry and harmless conceals a puff adder, its skin patterned in the same broken browns as the dirt it rests on. It does not move, it does not rattle, it waits. This is not a creature designed to flee, it is designed to punish mistakes. The puff adder kills more people in Africa than any other snake, not because it is the most venomous, but because it is a master of ambush. It will lie still for hours, unmoving even as footsteps approach. Its bite, when delivered, is sudden and brutal. Two hypodermic fangs, injecting a cytotoxic venom that liquefies flesh, turning tissue to sludge. Victims rarely die, but the price is high. Amputations, nerve damage, a permanent limp to remind you that Kruger's smallest predators do not ask for permission. Further along the trail, a dry hiss breaks the quiet, and you freeze, not from fear, but because your instincts demand it. The sound isn't loud, but it pulls all the heat from your chest. A black mamba, Africa's fastest, most feared serpent. Despite its name, it is not black, but a smooth metallic grey, like a living shadow darting across sand. Its name comes from the inside of its mouth, a coal-black cavern that flashes as it rears, warning you in the most terrifying way that your time is running out. A mamba doesn't bluff often. If it strikes, It can deliver up to 20 drops of neurotoxic venom in a single bite, shutting down the nervous system within minutes. Paralysis. Respiratory failure. A suffocating silence as your lungs forget how to move. And still, the mamba won't watch you die. It'll be gone, vanishing faster than your scream can reach the tree line. And yet these snakes are not villains. They are misunderstood surgeons of the ecosystem, keeping rodent populations in check, maintaining balance in the delicate food web. The black mamba would rather flee than fight, slithering at speeds of up to 15 miles per hour, faster than most people can sprint. But fear shapes perception. And when one was spotted coiled in the wheel well of a safari truck near Skukuza, the ranger didn't hesitate to cancel the drive, radioing a handler who arrived with a stick, a sack, and the calm of someone who has faced the reaper and laughed politely. Still, even among these silent assassins, there is one whose danger is whispered with awe: the Mozambique spitting cobra. Unlike others, this snake doesn't need to bite to blind. It raises its hood and spits venom straight into the eyes of its enemy, often from over a meter away. The venom is cytotoxic and neurotoxic, attacking both tissue and nerve endings. If not washed immediately, it can cause permanent blindness, and it rarely misses. Locals know the myth. If you see the hood, you're already too close. One ranger once described the sensation of being spat at as hot sand in the soul. The cobra? It just watched him writhe, then slithered into the brush like a ghost that had done its job and needed no applause. But not all snakes kill with speed. Some work slower, like the boomslang, a tree-dwelling serpent with eyes far too large for its narrow head. It looks almost comical, a cartoon snake with a gaze too wide and curious. But its venom is a hemotoxin, thinning the blood until it leaks from every pore, every orifice. The terrifying part? Symptoms can take hours to appear. A bite in the morning might feel like nothing more than a pinprick. You might sip coffee, chat with friends, take a walk, and then begin to bleed from your gums, your nose, your eyes, the inside of your skin. One victim, a well-known herpetologist, died writing about the experience, calmly documenting each stage as his body unraveled, like a scientist writing his own obituary. Yet there's a cruel irony to it all. For how feared they are, snakes do not hunt humans. We are too big, too awkward, too full of bones and bother. Most bites come from fear, from surprise, from clumsy boots or curious fingers poking at logs they shouldn't. In fact, most snakes in Kruger will vanish before you even know they were there. You've likely walked past dozens, maybe even today, and they watched you and chose to stay hidden. But sometimes the stakes tilt. A heat wave dries the bush. Prey disappears. Tensions rise. Snakes become bolder. One tourist, walking to an outdoor latrine late at night, stepped over what she thought was a rope. Her flashlight flickered just enough to reveal the scales. A puff adder. It struck once, venom exploding through her calf. She screamed, fell, crawled back to camp with breathless agony, her leg swollen twice its size by morning. She lived, but she never returned. Some lessons are not taught in school. Still, the snakes of Kruger are not monsters. They are ancient scripts written in coils and fangs, designed not for chaos but for balance. They ask only for space, for shadows, for silence. And in return, they maintain the order that larger predators so often disrupt. Where lions brawl, where hyenas riot, where elephants tear the earth, snakes slip through unnoticed, restoring equilibrium with precision. As the night deepens and the cool returns, the serpents retreat to their dens, their trees, their quiet crypts in the earth. They will sleep as they always do, coiled and calm, until dawn stirs the next prey to wander just a little too far from the path. And just beyond that path, as the mist begins to rise, comes the hunter no one expects, one with feathers, but no mercy. The martial eagle returns, but this time, it's not hunting monkeys. It's hunting snakes. The sun rises with a softness that belies the violence stitched into every shadow of Kruger. Pale light spills over the savanna like spilled milk, touching grass, stone, and bone with equal indifference. The landscape appears calm, almost serene. A breeze nudges the yellow thatch. A zebra flicks its tail. A hornbill stutters its morning call from the skeleton of a dead tree. It is beautiful. It is ancient, and it is lying to you. because there is no peace here, only the pause between endings. The illusion is masterfully done. The scent of jasmine lingers in the air, carried from distant shrubs. Impalas graze with feigned ease, but beneath their hooves, beneath the very earth, are footprints of desperation. Predator. Prey. Again and again, layered like calligraphy, one life trying to outrun another. And though most visitors leave with photographs of lions yawning in the shade or elephants bathing in muddy joy, what Kruger hides most artfully is the truth that none of it is fair, for here, every creature is food, even the kings, especially the kings. A lion dies not in glory, but often in slow erosion. His strength fades, his mane thins, his coalition disbands, and then the hyenas come, not all at once, but in whispers. They nibble at his domain, steal a kill, harass the pride, until one day the lion fights when he shouldn't. Maybe his jaw is off, maybe the ground is too loose, and they swarm him, 10, 15, 20, jaws snapping at his flanks, at his spine, until the roar becomes a rasp and the ground drinks his pride. His story ends not with a fight won, but with bones picked clean under the eyes of vultures. And it is not just lions. Crocodiles, those prehistoric Goliaths of patience, have been found half consumed by their own kin during times of drought. Elephants, the giants who seem untouchable, have keeled over in heatstroke and been gnawed by jackals before the heart even stopped beating. Leopards fall from trees, ambushed by rival males in mid-meal. Wild dogs, so successful in their deadly dances, have been chased into traffic, their final kill not made by teeth but by a tire. Even the martial eagle, sniper of the skies, has been caught mid-dive by a springing boomslang that refused to die quietly. This is not a land of mercy, it is a land of mathematics. And in this equation, the constant is hunger. Kill chains in Kruger are not always linear. They spiral. An impala taken by a leopard might be stolen by a hyena, who is chased off by lions, who lose it to vultures, who draw the attention of crocodiles who lunge from the riverbank. It's not a food chain, it's a food war. One kill can feed a dozen species, spark fights between enemies, or even bring momentary alliances. In one case, documented by field biologists, a pride of lions and a pack of hyenas fed in shifts from a dead giraffe, growling, bluffing, but never committing to battle. For 3 days they circled, watching each other with suspicion and shared exhaustion. Peace by stalemate. But the most haunting stories come not from the kills we see, but from the ones that never end in blood, yet still feel like executions. A mother cheetah, malnourished, trying to raise 5 cubs, loses one each week, not to predators, but to starvation. She feeds the last one with desperate precision, guiding it from termite mound to mound, trying to find something, anything, to stretch the hours. The 5th cub lives, but it doesn't play. Its eyes are already too old. There is a false comfort in believing that predators live simple lives, hunt, kill, eat, repeat. But nothing in Kruger is simple. A kill is never just a kill. It's a chain reaction. When a buffalo falls, oxpeckers lose their roost, dung beetles lose their buffet, lions fight over the scraps, hyenas lurk for leftovers, and the soil itself changes, enriched by what was, consumed by what will be. Death here is not the end, it is the currency. And in this system, even fear has a predator. A mongoose may flee a snake, only to turn and kill it if the angle favors its teeth. A baby baboon dropped in panic during a leopard chase might be saved by its troop, or ignored if the cost is too high. A black mamba can deliver death in minutes, but still end up as a meal for a hungry eagle. There are no guarantees, no contracts, only outcomes. The rules are not written in the sky or the dust. They are written in blood, in teeth marks, in half-healed wounds and eyes that watch the bushline a little longer than they used to. Every animal in Kruger learns this. There is no safe. There is only now. And that is the final kill. Not a predator, not a snake, not an ambush, but the idea that safety exists at all. Because here you can be big and still fall. You can be fast and still fail. You can be smart and still end up dragged beneath a river's surface, or crumpled beneath the hooves of a frightened zebra. Death does not choose the weak. It chooses the unlucky. And in that chaos, in that chilling randomness, is the most honest version of life. So when the sun sets one last time on this chapter, casting golden spears through the dust and laying long shadows across a landscape that has seen 1,000,000 lives rise and fall, know this: in Kruger, no one sleeps easy. Not the lion, not the eagle, not even the grass. But beyond Kruger, beyond even Africa, the game continues. In frozen tundras, in coral reefs, in deserts that breathe fire, predators wait.